Today's lesson is the force that keeps the universe together. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to talk about a powerful force in the universe that keeps the universe together. No, I don't think we're talking about dark matter or dark energy. Well, just basically talking about our humble little gravity, that force that keeps us on Earth and prevents us from floating off into space.
Okay, so this is a scientific article. I thought we were going to be talking about love as the force that or money. No, money makes the world go round. Love is all you need. But gravity, in a really real way, in a physical way, of course, is the force that keeps the universe together. That's right. It keeps our feet on the ground. It keeps our planet moving around the sun. It keeps the planets from spinning off into space on wild trajectories. But what do we know about gravity? Isaac Newton and an apple falling on his head? I think I could start there and not go much beyond that. So let's read our article. It's going to give us a lot of good information over the next couple of days about this amazing force that keeps the universe together. The force that keeps the universe together. Though nowhere in sight, it acts on us at every moment, from the day we're born until the day we die. It keeps the planets in orbit, holds entire galaxies together, and keeps our feet firmly on the ground. It is, of course, gravity, and without it, we wouldn't exist. So let's take a moment to go through a few fascinating facts about this mysterious force of attraction.
大家好，第一部分我们可以看到名词 galaxy， 它的意思是星系、银河或是银河系。例如 Our galaxy is called the Milky Way. It contains at least 100 billion stars. 我们的星系被称为银河系，其中至少包含1000亿颗星星。又或者说Dan hopes that scientists will discover life in another galaxy. Dan 希望科学家们能在另一个银河系发现生命。再来，我们介绍名词 gravity， 它指的是重力或是地心引力。例如 For centuries, people dreamed of overcoming gravity and flying. 几世纪以来，人们梦想着克服重力，飞上青天。或者I will now demonstrate the phenomenon of gravity by dropping this pen onto the floor. 我现在就要把这支笔扔到地上，以证明地心引力的现象。除此之外，补充这个字的形容词 gravitational, G-R-A-V-I-T-A-T-I-O-N-A-L, gravitational, 意思是重力的或是引力的。例如 The rocket has now escaped Earth's gravitational pull.那架火箭现在已经脱离地球的引力。再来看一个例子 The tides are caused by the moon's gravitational influence on the oceans. 潮汐是因为月球对海洋的引力作用而造成的。下一个我们看到形容词 mysterious， 它的意思是神秘的或是难以理解的。举例来说 A mysterious illness infected several people in the office. 办公室里好几个人都感染了不知名的疾病。又或者说The disappearance of Harold was very mysterious and baffled the police. Harold 的失踪非常神秘，把警方难倒了。另外补充这个字的名词 mystery, M-Y-S-T-E-R-Y, mystery. 它有谜团、神秘的事情或是神秘的意思。例如 The identity of the killer is still a mystery to this day. 那位杀手的身份至今仍是个谜。再举一个例子 I'm going to need your help to solve this mystery.我将需要你的协助来解开这个谜。
Okay, it's time now for us to discuss the first part of our lesson for today. Again, we're talking about the force or the power that keeps everything together, that keeps the universe together. Now, here in the first paragraph it says, though nowhere in sight, it acts on us at every moment, from the day we're born until the day we die. So it's nowhere in sight, which means we can't see it at all. It does refer to times when we can't see anything. Maybe you're walking along a busy street with your friend, but they start walking ahead of you, and eventually you realize, hey, what happened to John? He's nowhere in sight. He's disappeared. So again, it's nowhere in sight. We can't see it, but still it acts on us from the day we're born till the day we die.
That's right. And unlike your friend John, who is still there even if you can't see him, gravity is there, but you can't see it. It's invisible. That would be another way of saying it's nowhere in sight. It's invisible. It's something you can't actually see, but it acts on us. It has influences on us. It controls the things that we do from the day we're born till the day we die. I guess unless you're an astronaut, even then, gravity is still important. But, once you're off the planet, it might be slightly less important. But for most of us, yes, gravity is there all the time. It keeps the planets in orbit, holds entire galaxies together, and keeps our feet firmly on the ground. Yeah, those are some of the things that gravity does, some of the more dramatic to the more commonplace. It keeps planets in orbit. I mentioned the Earth moving around the sun as we do once a year. An orbit is basically that circular movement of a planet or a moon around a larger body. So we can talk about being in orbit or orbiting. We could also use it as a verb, and the Earth orbits the sun, as do the other planets of our solar system, and the moon orbits the Earth and that kind of thing. Once we take the sun and many other stars, then we have a galaxy. A galaxy is a collection of millions or maybe billions of stars, a lot of stars. There are billions of galaxies in the universe. We live in a corner of our galaxy called the Milky Way, but it keeps these galaxies together in the same way that it keeps us on the ground and it keeps the Earth moving around the sun. It keeps the sun moving around the other galaxies over millions and billions of years, and on the very normal, very commonplace, it keeps our feet firmly on the ground. Even if you jump off the ground, your feet will be firmly back on the ground in just a few seconds, all thanks to gravity.
Yep, what goes up must come down, at least according to gravity. And in case we didn't tell you before, it says it is, of course, gravity, and without it, we wouldn't exist. So gravity, of course, is that force that keeps everything together. It's what keeps you on the earth. It's what causes things to fall out of the sky. That, of course, is gravity. And indeed, if we did not have this power, if this power did not exist in the universe, we would not exist. We'd float off into space, we would suffocate and die, and the rest of the universe would be in trouble as well. So let's take a moment to go through a few fascinating facts about this mysterious force of attraction. So yes, we're going to talk about gravity today, but we're going to talk about some fascinating facts, some trivia regarding gravity. And gravity, of course, is not well understood, so we're describing it as being mysterious. If something's mysterious, we don't really know anything about it. Hey, there's a mysterious sound coming from the attic. Do you think it's a ghost?
Ooh, it could be. We definitely don't know. We have a lot of questions, and we might not even get answers, and that's what makes it so mysterious. Absolutely. Gravity is something we all know about, but you would probably be hard-pressed to find someone who could explain it to you. So, although it's not really mysterious, you can go to university and study and know everything about gravity. For most of us who aren't physics students, it is kind of mysterious. We know it's there, but few of us could explain how it works. So, let's learn a little bit about how it works by reading the next part of the article. Gravity is surprisingly weak. As mentioned above, gravity holds entire galaxies together, so describing it as weak may seem strange. However, when compared with other fundamental forces, it really isn't very strong. For example, if you place a magnet on your refrigerator door, it should stay there. This is because the force between the magnet and the fridge is stronger than the force of gravity generated by the whole planet. But exactly why gravity is so comparatively weak is a fact that scientists are still desperate to uncover.
第二部分我们介绍形容词 fundamental， 它的意思是基本的、基础的或是根本性的。例如 Reading and writing are fundamental skills. 阅读和书写是基础的技能。又或者说 Ryan believes that free speech is a fundamental human right. Ryan 相信言论自由是基本的人权。接着我们看到单字 comparatively， 它是副词，指的是相对的或是比较而言。例如 Ted's ride to work is comparatively shorter than mine. Ted 上班的车程比起我的来说要短。或是 The cost of living in Taipei is comparatively less expensive than that of New York City. 与纽约市相比，台北的生活成本相对来说比较低。最后我们看到单字 uncover， 它是动词，指的是揭露、 发现秘密或不为人知的事，或是发掘。例如 The reporter uncovered widespread government corruption. 那名记者揭露了牵连广泛的政府贪污事件。或是 Harry uncovered the remains of an old cottage on his farm. Harry 在他的农场上发现一栋古老农舍的遗迹。
Okay, so here's our first fascinating fact about gravity today. Gravity is surprisingly weak. If something's weak, of course, it's not strong, and gravity, of course, keeps the universe together, but surprisingly, this force is actually pretty weak. It is not really that strong. Let's explain this to you here. It says here in the second part, as mentioned above, gravity holds entire galaxies together, so describing it as weak may seem strange. Indeed, the Milky Way galaxy, which we're a part of, or the Andromeda galaxy, or the Pinwheel galaxy, they're all held together by gravity. So those are huge celestial objects. So yeah, if you describe gravity as weak, that seems kind of weird. How could it be weak if it keeps those huge galaxies with their billions of stars all together?
That's a good question. But then again, if it's so strong, why can I fly a paper airplane? Why do butterflies float around as if they're not affected by gravity at all? It can't be that powerful, right? Little birds fly very easily. They're not suddenly pulled down towards the ground. It says, however, when compared with other fundamental forces, it really isn't very strong. Yeah, if we talk about other fundamental forces, you know, the way the wind can push things around in the air much more easily than gravity can act upon them. So something that's fundamental is very basic. So when you talk about other basic forces or basic rules of physics in the Earth, gravity isn't actually that strong. Think about all the ways we can sort of defy gravity by putting helium in a balloon or wings on a plane or things like that. Here's another example. For example, if you place a magnet on your refrigerator door, it should stay there. It won't get pulled towards the ground. No, it's staying on your refrigerator door. All what? Because of that tiny little magnet on the back that's holding it to the metal in the fridge door? Well, yes, as it says, this is because the force between the magnet and the fridge is stronger than the force of gravity generated by the whole planet. So we have a whole planet's worth of gravity trying to pull that magnet down onto your kitchen floor, but it's being defied by the power of magnetism coming from this little coin-sized magnet that you're putting on your fridge door.
Yep, and that's a fundamental force, the force of magnetism, and that has to do with metal and positive nodes and negative and stuff like that. And so the magnet is stuck to your fridge door, which is made out of metal, and it won't fall because the force of gravity is not as strong as the force of that magnet. But exactly why gravity is so comparatively weak is a fact that scientists are still desperate to uncover. So yes, when we compare something, we say it's comparatively, and then the adjective. In this particular case, gravity is comparatively weak to other fundamental forces. So here, comparatively comes from the verb to compare. When you take two or more things and you try to find out the things that are the same about them and the things that are different about them. So when we compare magnetism or whatever to gravity, we find that gravity is relatively weak, and this fact is something scientists really want to uncover, or they want to reveal it, and they're desperate to do that. If you're desperate, you really need to do this thing.
That's true, and if you're uncovering something, it could be taking the top off of it. If you take a blanket off something that was hidden under it, you're uncovering it. If you take the lid off a jar or the lid off a pot, you're uncovering it. But yes, we can also use it to talk about finding new information, learning new things, doing research, getting new data, that type of thing. I'll uncover all the secrets once I read the person's diary or something like that. I'm not physically uncovering something, but I'm discovering things. I'm learning things that were hidden or were unknown before. So that's interesting. Scientists still can't really explain why that magnet won't fall, but the Earth won't spin off into space. Both of them are by gravity, but one is acting on a huge object, seemingly very easily. The other one can't act on that small magnet, seemingly because magnetism is stronger. They can't really explain all of this. Let's move on and find out more about gravity. It varies on every planet. Gravity varies depending on an object's mass. The more mass an object has, the stronger its gravitational pull. Therefore, smaller planets, such as Mars and Mercury, have weaker gravitational pulls than Earth. This is why you could jump around 3 times higher on Mars than you could on Earth.
Okay, so again, our first fascinating fact about gravity is that it's surprisingly weak. And here's the second fact for today. It varies on every planet. There's a different amount of gravity depending on which planet you are at. Say, for example, you're at Mars or Jupiter or Saturn. They all have different rates of gravity. So gravity varies depending on an object's mass. Mass just refers to how much material is there in that space. And yes, indeed, some planets are more massive than others.
The more mass an object has, the stronger its gravitational pull. So basically, large, dense objects will have more mass than smaller, less dense objects, and so they will also have more gravitational pull. Therefore, smaller planets, like the inner planets, smaller planets such as Mars and Mercury, have weaker gravitational pulls than Earth, because physically, Mars and Mercury are smaller than the Earth. You know, they're smaller in size, and so they are less dense, and so they have less gravitational pull. And this is why you could jump around 3 times higher on Mars than you could on Earth. Or, as another example that you've probably seen, you've seen the astronauts jumping and walking on the moon, which also has less mass than the Earth, and it looks like they could jump for 10 feet or jump 4 or 5 feet in the air, even while wearing those heavy spacesuits and all of that stuff. It's because of the differences in the mass of the bodies that they're standing on, the Earth and the moon in this case, and also the difference in the gravitational forces experienced there.
I think I remember one astronaut actually hitting a golf ball on the surface of the moon.
Alan Shepard.
Alan Shepard, indeed. Yeah. And, of course, as you would guess, the ball traveled much farther than it would on Earth because of the weaker gravity on the moon. So we did give you the example here of Mars and Mercury. Mercury, of course, is the first planet in the solar system. It's the planet that's closest to the sun, and it's quite small, although I think it's not quite as small as the moon. I think it's slightly bigger than the moon, but still, if you were to set foot on Mercury, you would not be very heavy, and you would not go floating off into space, but you could probably jump pretty high, and I think the same goes for Mars as well. I wonder what the case is for Venus, because Venus is almost the same size as the Earth.
That's a very good point. Another way to sort of see the force of gravity, even though it's easy to throw a ball up in the air, right? Anyone can do it with just a little bit of muscle power. When you look at rockets and even airplanes, a lot of the fuel they use, in fact, most of the fuel they use is just getting off of the ground, right? We look at those rockets that send satellites or billionaires or the space shuttle or whatever into space. Many times when they think about traveling to the distant parts of the universe, or maybe Mars or other planets, they often talk about building those rockets out in space because the savings in weight would be so great. The engines could be much smaller. The amount of fuel they would carry would be much, much less, because a lot of the power that those big rockets that we see blasting off from America or Russia or places like that, a lot of the power that they need and a lot of the fuel they carry, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of kilograms of fuel, it's just to fight the force of gravity. It's really used up in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the rocket launch as they speed up to 50 or 100 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. Gravity stops working at that point, and the object, of course, becomes weightless because there's no gravity in space. So really, a lot of the energy that they need, and this is translated into the fuel costs and engine size and power output, it's really just to fight that weak force, somewhat weak force of gravity.
Okay, so again, the 2 fascinating facts we've talked about today include gravity is surprisingly weak, and it varies on every planet. And next time, we're going to talk about the tides and how it affects your height. So we look forward to seeing you then. It's now time to turn things over to Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分第二句写到，它让行星运行在轨道上，让整个星系聚集在一起，并让我们的双脚稳稳地站在地面上。好，文中它用到 keep our feet firmly on the ground 来表达让我们的双脚稳稳地站在地面上。那这边它其实是用字面意思来表达。不过当我们说 keep one's feet on the ground， 其实也可以用来形容人他是脚踏实地、理性务实的。举例来说 Despite his success, Jack kept his feet on the ground. Jack 虽然有所成就，他还是脚踏实地，没有得意忘形。好，那这边我们也补充一下，如果要表达得意忘形的话，英文可以用 be carried away 或者是 get carried away， 它的字面意思是被带走，那就引申表达说一个人他可能因为太兴奋太热情而失控得意忘形，就好像被兴奋激动的情绪带着走，冲昏了头没办法控制自己，就相较于前面我们讲的双脚稳稳站在地上，那这边则是被带走嘛，所以就有得意忘形的感觉。好，举例来说 It's easy to get carried away once you get a taste of fame。 一旦尝到成名的滋味，你就很容易被名气冲昏了头，变得得意忘形了。好，那么读到课文下一句 It is of course gravity, and without it, we wouldn't exist。 当然它就是重力，若没有重力我们就不会存在。好，那这边要介绍的是 without 加名词去搭配假设法主要子句的用法，那可以表达出要不是怎么样怎么样，或是如果没有什么什么的那种意思。好，那以下要介绍两种句型。第一种是 without 加名词逗号，主词加上 could, would, might 或是 should 再加原形动词。那这样的句型是用来表达与现在事实相反的情况。这时候 without 加名词意思就相当于 if it were not for 加名词。举例来说 Without water, there would be no life on earth。 也可以说 If it were not for water, there would be no life on earth。 要是没有水，地球上就不会有生命存在了。好，第二个要介绍的句型是 without 加名词逗号，主词加上 could, would, might 或是 should 再加 have 加过去分词 pp。 那这样的句型是用来表达与过去事实相反的情况。这时候 without 加名词意思则是相当于 if it had not been for 加名词。举例来说 Without your help, we wouldn't have succeeded。 那也可以说 If it hadn't been for your help, we wouldn't have succeeded。 当时要是没有你的帮忙，我们就没有办法成功了。好，以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Orbit. Jupiter has the largest orbit of any planet in the solar system. Galaxy. The Andromeda Galaxy is the one closest to our own, the Milky Way. Gravity. The gravity of a star can cause light to bend. Mysterious. Police are investigating the mysterious disappearance of the painting from the museum. Fundamental. Mathematics is a fundamental tool of scientific study. Desperate. The children were desperate for a chance to go outside and play. Uncover. The reporter uncovered evidence of the politician's secret bank accounts.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.